We think, oh, we're on the same playing field. I should be able to do whatever so-and-so does, or they should be able to do what I can do. But the truth is, there are innumerable things that affect how we show up in the world. And so we're never really on equal playing fields. It's never fair to compare.
Hi, this is Monica Packer, and you're listening to About Progress, where we are about progress made practical. Despite me always telling my kids that correlation does not equate causation, I have to tell you, I think there is one category where something is both correlated to and causes the other. The more I compare, the more insecure I feel. Earlier this month, we got to hear from a therapist, Trevor Hansen, on how anxious attachment contributes to insecurity. Today, I want to extend that conversation on how gratitude can act as both the antidote to comparison and a way for us to earn back our confidence. Kathie Gwilliam is on the podcast to teach her SOAR method, a practical way to identify, stop, and move through comparison, and in ways where gratitude is the heart of feeling regrounded in ourselves. Come for the boost of confidence, but stay for a surprising connection to us owning our own gifts and valuing our own contributions. Kathie Gwilliam is a motivational speaker, author, wife and mother of 5, and host of the Project Confidence podcast. With the power of storytelling and real-life experience, she helps audiences overcome comparison, build authentic connections, and embrace their unique strengths through practical strategies that inspire appreciation, recognition, and personal growth. I should be a guest on her show as well, so stay tuned for that. This is the week of Thanksgiving for those listening in the U.S. I thought an episode with a twist on gratitude would be both timely and needed as we begin to go full steam ahead into the holiday season where comparisons and insecurities can abound. And a quick note of my own gratitude for you and for listening. We just celebrated 9 years of About Progress, and I'm currently in the middle of giving away 9 of my favorite things now through the end of the year to listeners. You can automatically enter that anniversary giveaway by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. The giveaway details are linked for you in the show notes. Thank you so much for being part of this work. My interview with Kathie is coming up after a quick break for our sponsors. I have big plans for the holidays, and they mostly involve me getting ready for bed by 7 p.m., wearing comfortable pajamas and curling under a blanket with my family, with the tree lights glowing softly, and playing games, watching shows, and reading books. I can already picture it. I can tell you the pajamas I will be wearing the most are my bamboo pajama sets from Cozy Earth. I bought my first pair 2 years ago, and yes, I know the exact timeline because I immediately fell in love and hate wearing anything else. I wore them just last night, in fact. Their soft knit bamboo fabric drapes beautifully. They are somehow lightweight while still keeping you warm, and they look so classic you can lounge in them much longer than your typical sleeping hours. Top off that pajama set with a bubble cuddle blanket, and you are set. The Bubble Cuddle Blanket combines comfort with its faux fur style. It's plush, soft, and adds a touch of luxury to any room. Both of these items would make for great gifts for anyone from your mom to your bestie to yourself, I'm just saying. And I already know that my kids are going to fight over the blanket, so it may be time for each one of them to get their own under the tree. I've been a long-standing fan of Cozy Earth. Their sheets are our absolute favorites, and I'm thrilled to share their special offer with you today. Black Friday has come early at Cozy Earth. Right now, use my code COZYPROGRESS to save up to 40% off in savings. These deals won't last, so start your holiday shopping today. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Again, use the code COZYPROGRESS at checkout. Wrap the ones you love in luxury with Cozy Earth. Kathie Gwilliam, a warm welcome to About Progress.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
This is a week that we're thinking a lot about gratitude. We're going to be talking about it from a bit different perspective, and it's more about an internalized gratitude and a way to combat this sneaky comparison that robs us of so much. And that's where I want to begin, because I think we have to kind of lay the groundwork of why our ultimate conversation matters. It's because of how much comparison robs us of our presence, of our joy, of our relationships, of things we want to try and do. And I wanted to see how you personally see this in the women in your community and in your own life too, about how comparison is doing that.
Yeah. I think, comparison is natural. We all do it. But when we stay in a comparative mind frame, kind of stills our confidence. It stills
Hmm.
our connection with other people because we put up walls. It changes our actions. When we're comparing our bodies, you may not put on a swimsuit and jump in the pool with your kids or your family.
Yeah.
You hold back from going to that reunion because maybe someone else is more successful than you are. And so I think it just affects the way we show up in the world when we put ourselves lower or higher than somebody else through that comparison.
And one other thing I keep thinking about too is it kind of creates this feeling of lack. Like you're always behind, you'll never get ahead. It's really a despairing place to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. We focus on what we're lacking, what we don't have, and it really lowers our sense of self worth. And so, therefore, we're not as willing to put ourselves out there or to, make friendships or to show up in the meeting and, contribute in a meaningful way because we have so much insecurity because we compare.
Okay. And so that really speaks to the whole confidence issue as well. It breeds insecurity. And I think that insecurity is what makes us not show up, like you just
Yeah,
said, show up to our lives. I want to talk more about ways they can track comparison because it's surprisingly sneaky. And I think we
absolutely.
have the obvious ones that we can all think of, but can you kind of paint the picture of what they should even be looking for to see if comparison is a problem for them?
Yeah, I kind of teach a process to my listeners. I call it the source steps. And the first step is to state out loud what you're comparing because we know the comparisons when we are like, "Oh, they're so much better than us," and it's like a blatant statement. But sometimes we're comparing when we're watching television and you see somebody and you like something about them, and you think, "Oh, I could never do that." Or we compare when there's expectations that have been said or unsaid and we think, oh, we're not living up to that. That's actually a comparison that we're making. Or even in our relationships, when we like expect our partner to do something and then they don't, but we never even told them that and we feel angry or bitter, that's a form of comparison too. And then we're allowing walls to be built in our relationship because of unspoken expectations. So I think there's all these different ways that we compare to one another and to society and to the world. And I think one of the easiest ways to identify when we're comparing is through the next step. So first is SOAR, is S, state the comparison, and then O is to observe the results. And I
Okay.
think when you recognize like bitterness and vanity and insecurity and jealousy popping up, that's a big red flag to say, hey, I compared to something. What did I compare to? Does that make sense?
No, it does. Okay, so we state the comparison, meaning so we just notice it's happening.
Yeah.
Like we realize, oh, that's what I'm doing. I'm actually comparing myself to this person or this season of life that someone's in, or what someone else could accomplish, or what they'd look. I'm going to state it, and then I'm going to observe what happens because of that. A lot of what you just described is internal,
Yeah,
kind of
it's
yucky
all.
feelings.
It is. I think the majority of the work is internal in this
Yeah.
sphere. And it's so much of it is happening in our mind. Yes, we do state comparisons out loud, but I think most of the time it's internal. It's what's
It's
going on
internal.
in our brains. And I think the power of observing, I think we don't really recognize all that comparison holds us back from. And so when you take a step back and say, okay, I had this thought, I compared myself to my neighbor. What is it? How is that affecting my life? And you ask yourself the questions, okay, how do I feel?
Mm,
So, like, how did it affect my emotions? How is it affecting my behavior?
yeah.
And how does it affect my view of myself, my self worth, my identity? And as you recognize all those things, like I'm comparing myself to my neighbor who brought me homemade bread, and I don't make homemade bread. So I feel crummy because I don't make homemade bread. So I'm going to throw this bread in the garbage and not enjoy it. And then I feel embarrassed because I think I'm not as good as her. And maybe I won't talk to her. We can recognize, oh, I felt guilt and shame. I felt insecure because I thought I wasn't as good as her because I don't make homemade bread. And then I build up a wall. Like it affected how I react to her, how I connect with my neighbor,
Mm.
instead of just being grateful and gracious that she gave you a gift. And so if when you ask yourself those questions and you recognize the little tiny ways or big ways that it changes us, then I think it prepares our mind to make a change, because we're like, oh, our brains like to protect us. They don't like us to be living in a icky place, right? It always wants to make us the best. And so when we notice, hey, you made a comparison and this is affecting how I'm showing up, your brain's going to want to change. And that's where the next step, the A, comes in, and that's to acknowledge the comparison that you made is not fair. And I think so many times we think, oh, we're on the same playing field. I should be able to do whatever so-and-so does, or they should be able to do what I can do. But the truth is there are innumerable things, our DNA, our culture, our family, our money, our opportunities, our learned experiences that affect how we show up in the world and why, the things we've learned and the skills we have or don't have. And so we're never really on equal playing fields. So it's never fair to compare. And when you acknowledge that and point out the reasons why it's not fair to make that comparison, again, with the stating it out loud, you know what you did, you observed how bad it's affecting you, and then you acknowledge it's not even fair in the first place, then you're really ready to make a change.
And I think part of that acknowledgement piece, as you've been describing that, I've been realizing we have to acknowledge that it's a form of criticism and judgment. Sometimes comparison just comes straight out as jealousy, I
Yeah.
think, towards other people. But I think most often it's about a self-judgment and a self-criticism. And so even though, like you said, our brains are trying to protect us, it's hurting us. And acknowledging it is a way for us to really, I wouldn't say luxuriate in the hurt, but to acknowledge, oh, this is hurting me and it's not fair or right. So now I have a choice about what I'm going to do about it. And I'm sure that's where R comes in. So tell us more about R to go with the whole SOAR steps.
Yeah. So R is really the key component. It is, all the other steps are preparing you to really make a change. And R is to replace the
Okay.
comparison. I kind of compare it to like a little kid. Like if you've ever had a child that, or, know somebody that's like afraid of the dark, or they think there's a monster under their bed or something. If you're just tell them, hey, don't be afraid, that's not going to change anything. They're going to lay
Yeah.
there in their bed. They're not going to go to sleep. And so you have to replace their thought with something else, right? I read my kid the story or sing them a song or talk about something fun we're going to do in the coming week. And so it's replaced in their mind, and then they can calm down and forget about the fear, move on. And I think it's kind of the same thing. Like if we just say, don't compare, that's not going to happen because it naturally happens. And you can't just remove something from your brain and have nothing remain. And so we replace it. And there's 3 things I wholeheartedly believe are the best replacements for comparison in our brain. And that's appreciation. So appreciate other people in their strengths and abilities. And then inspiration, take inspiration and, try to grow yourself. Like, oh, they can do this. Hey, I could learn it too. And then recognition. And that's taking a little bit of time to recognize the good that is already in you, because we all have amazing skills and abilities that contribute to this world. And it's okay if we don't have what everyone else has, because we have our own too.
And that contrasts the lack feeling I think that comparison often creates, because it's more, I know this can be such a woo woo term, but honestly, it is more abundant. It feels more gracious, compassionate, open, giving. And also, I'm sure changes your behavior, because then instead of saying stuck on the sidelines or hustling to try to get better at something because of that inner comparison voice or being jealous of somebody, you're actually doing something about it. Even if that means acknowledging your own gifts that you have and how we don't all have to have the same gifts or things that we're good at or opportunities to be living a good life.
Yeah. And I think this goes so well with all the things you teach, because it's honestly a beautiful way to overcome perfectionism.
Yeah.
Because when you can like step back and just be grateful that other people have skills and abilities and talents that you don't have, and can recognize how they bless your life because of that, it kind of lets you be free. Like, oh, I don't have to be good at everything. I don't have to do it all because I can do my good and I can be inspired by other people, but like I don't have to do it like them. And so I think it's so freeing, and it's a really beautiful way to help us overcome that perfectionism that so many women tend to have.
Hmm. I love that point so much. It does change the way we show up. It gives us permission to show up as humans that we are. And you started this, Kathie, by saying that all of us compare. So I gather from your work that the goal is to not ever compare ever again. It's to be aware of it and to change our relationship with comparison. And I wanted to hear about your own journey with that, though, because I'm betting there had to have been a time where comparison bred a lot of insecurity in you. It led you to a place where you were not happy, you were suffering from it. And also that this has become, a big passion of yours to help women specifically with this. Can you tell us more about when it was like, okay, this is actually a big problem that I need to work on?
Yeah, I was 21. I was actually a pretty confident teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had just an inner sense of self. And I moved to a new state, and I was doing something completely new and out of my comfort zone. And I was really excited about it. I was going to be giving tours at this historic site. And
Amazing. Yeah.
I got there, and the other people that I was working with, it was like all of a sudden I was looking through a magnifying glass and I could just see, oh my gosh, she has this incredible voice, and I can't sing on my tours. I'm not going to do that. People
Yeah.
would run out of the room. And then this other person had just so much knowledge of history, and I loved history, but I didn't have the knowledge she had. And suddenly I was just like, I don't belong here. I'm in the wrong place. I can't compare to these other women that are here doing this. And I had a really wise leader that recognized what was happening, because I didn't understand why I had just lost all my confidence in like a couple week period. And he just told me to never compare, because I would either be vain or bitter.
Mm.
And it was really kind of shocking to me, because I was like, first of all, I didn't even recognize what I was doing. I thought, I was just seeing these other people and how great they were, and I didn't realize that I was chipping away my own worth because of
Mm.
recognizing their good. And I was in a period of time where I really wanted to grow myself, and vanity and bitterness were not really the attributes I wanted to gain.
Yes.
And so I really dove in. I was like, okay, well, I'm comparing. How do I stop that? I'm not the first person who will ever have told you don't compare yourself to others, right? We hear that semi frequently, but I didn't know how to actually do that. And so through a lot of trial and error, I just kind of dove in. And this is the process that I had to recognize it first. And then I observed like how it made me want to go home and give up and walk away from this experience. And then I recognized it wasn't fair, because, yeah, I couldn't sing like this other woman I worked with, but I had talents in presenting
Mm.
and connecting with the audience that would come through our doors. And so I recognized, hey, it's not fair. We can do things different and still do it well. And so I recognized, I acknowledged that it wasn't fair. And then I realized through trial and error how I could replace that comparison in my mind. I just started to appreciate these other women and the strengths they had, and let go that I didn't need to do it like them,
Mm.
but I could love how they did it. And then I was able to like be inspired by some of them. Okay, well, I'm going to dig in and learn a little bit more about this history, just like she knows so much of it, and learn in my own way. And then just recognizing my own value that I contributed, and that experience, and coming up with that pattern for myself and seeing how much it really restored my confidence and contributed to me being able to connect and love these other women that I was working with so
Mhm.
much. It changed the trajectory of my life. And so I've used this, and I just see, especially with like social media and
Mhm.
all that's out there, I feel like comparison is really it's in our face, and it's so easy and prevalent and natural. And so yeah, I'm passionate because it's made a difference in my life, and I know
Mhm.
it can make a difference in other people's life too.
If you owned a business, would you sign up for continuing education to support it? What if you were or are a teacher, a beauty technician, a doctor, a photographer, a dental hygienist, or anything else? The answer is, of course, you would sign up for continuing ed because that is what all good professionals do. So if you would answer yes when it comes to investing in a job, then why are you any different? I have found that online education for parenting abounds. I have signed up for countless courses and conferences for parenting my ADHD children. But in our pursuit to be good mothers, we put parenting and mothering above being humans, which affects those things, obviously, so deeply. So, where's the online education for moms to learn not just how to be a better mom, but a better fulfilled, joyful human? That's where the More for Moms course comes in. This was my More for Moms conference turned into a self-paced course made up of 25 world-class speakers who will educate you on how to be you again in ways that are deep and practical. From making sense on why you lost yourself to good intentions in the first place, to helping you explore what it would look like if you were on your own list, to tactile ways to improve your everyday, from dinner to style, to hobbies, to fun. The More for Moms course has it all. I want to invite you to invest in continuing education for yourself by signing up today for $20 off with the code LISTENER at checkout. This is an exclusive code to listeners of the About Progress podcast. When you sign up, everything from the More for Moms conference becomes a self-paced course. You get access to all conference material, from video to transcripts to audio, so you can catch up or revisit all speaker sessions for years to come. And my favorite part is the More for Moms conference audio. It's a private, ad-free podcast feed with all 25 speaker sessions, so you can listen on the go, which is my preferred medium. Again, you can sign up for $20 off with the code LISTENER at aboutprogress.com/moreformoms. It's time for you to invest in continuing education for you, because you are a person too. Again, sign up at aboutprogress.com/moreformoms for $20 off using the code LISTENER at checkout. We began this conversation talking about how the consequences of comparison are so internal, and they are. But one thing that really struck me from your own story is how it doesn't just rob us of experiences, growth, relationships, it robs other people of those things too. Because if we are holding back, if we're not leaning into our own unique ways of doing things or being, we are denying people from benefiting from those things too. So you were able to, in appreciating other people and recognizing how you wanted to change and being inspired by them, you were able to better let other people benefit from your lack of, or refusal, I would say, to stay in the comparison mindset. So it's not about like you never did, it was more about the refusal to do that. So one thing I think that may be helpful for women to think about who are listening is to, one of the biggest ways it seems like to combat comparison here is to own your gifts, to own that I have gifts to give in their own right, and they are worthy as they are. I have gifts to give. That gives like
Absolutely.
a different feeling.
That was really like the first, I put it the last when I introduced them, but that was the first thing that I did as a person when I was really drowning in that lack of confidence and comparison, was recognize, like, take a step back and be like, remind myself, hey, you came here because you have this strength and this strength. And I had to just own that. And I think sometimes, especially as women, we tend to like been taught, oh, we want to be humble and we want to be,
Yeah.
but true humility, it's not about putting yourself down or like not acknowledging who you are. You can be a very gracious, kind, humble person and still really step in to recognizing and owning your own strengths and gifts. It doesn't help anyone when we shy away and don't show up and acknowledge the good and the great that is us. It benefits everybody when we do step into that and own ourselves, and it gives other people permission to be like, hey, I can be good at this too, or, my own things.
I can do it in my own way. I think about one woman I'm friends with who really has a hard time going to things like book club or social gatherings in our neighborhood with other women because she is in such a comparison place. And the thing that the comparison makes her do is tap down. So she gets really quiet and withdraws and is insecure about, speaking up and sharing her own insight because she doesn't think it's good enough. And this is for her and for those like her, I would say, regardless of if that's like a social gathering or anything else that you are interested in doing and being in the ways you're interested in connecting. I want to lean a little bit more into the antidote, I think, of comparison, which is gratitude. Because each of those three words you described with replace, appreciation, inspiration, and recognition, really to me are about that, about settling into gratitude. So, how would you say that is the antidote to comparison? Like, why does that work?
Well, one, I think, as I kind of said earlier, it helps you let go of this need for perfectionism and this need to, like, I have to do everything and be good at everything, and everyone else does too. When we can just simply appreciate other people and their strengths and recognize it, I'm so glad there are people out there who are very technologically savvy because I'm not, and they can help me with that. As an author, I almost didn't ever submit my first children's picture book for publication because I'm a really horrible speller. And so I had this expectation that, you know, authors should know how to spell. And so I couldn't possibly be an author. And then just stepping back and being like, it's okay, I can be good with words, and other people can be good with editing and helping me where I struggle. And I can just be grateful that I have people that can help me with that. And so having that gratitude, appreciating other people in their strength and appreciating yourself in the strengths you have is like removing the comparison. It's the replacement in the brain,
Got it.
because it just helps you show up and appreciate yourself and others.
Hmm.
And then that's where the inspiration comes in, because then you can grow. You can take inspiration from other people, and you don't have to be stuck, but you don't have to do it like they do it. And so gratitude is really the heart. I totally agree. It's the heart of all three of these replacements for comparison. And they all go hand in hand. And it's, just being grateful for who we are and who other people are, and the chance that we can grow, and the chance that we can be bad at things and other people can fill in the gaps where we lack, and we can fill in other people's gaps.
There really is a beauty to accepting our own humanity.
Yes.
Just allowing ourselves to be human and other people too, I think is another way to nip that comparison in the bud, because you can just let go, like you shared. You can settle in to your own self, and you can also show up more too, because you can acknowledge, I don't have to be the best at this for it to be of something of value. And I'm just thinking about that friend, and that's something I think she's been working on, is saying, like, I don't have to say the best thing at book club to have something to say. Like, I don't have to say the thing that makes everyone like, oh, ooh, yeah, like really resonate with that in order for it to be of value. And that, I think, is what we want. We all want more of that. We want to be able to let go more. We want to settle in. We want to step up. I'm curious, Kathie, you shared a few statements there that I think will help with that gratitude piece, to kind of give them that space to step into those three steps that you shared: appreciation, inspiration, and recognition. You said, I don't have to do it the way they do it. That was something you said. Are there any other go-to ways that you kind of settle yourself in those moments and be able to step into more of that gratitude piece that women can adopt for themselves?
Yeah, I think just stepping back when you recognize, like, oh, and you're comparing yourself to someone else and you're starting to feel down about yourself, if you just pause and be like, how does their strength actually benefit my life? And I think when you recognize the benefit that other people, the way they show up and the way they contribute and, the way they serve and give benefits you, it helps you remove, like, oh, it's not about me.
Hmm.
It's about us as a whole,
Hmm.
because I think that we are divinely designed to be different so that we can help each other. It would be impossible for any one of us to have every single skill and talent and ability in this world. There's just not enough time or, energy or emotion. And so I think there is beauty when we take a step back and realize, oh, they have that strength and it blesses me. And same thing for you. I have that strength and it can bless them. And when you just allow yourself to all be different and remind yourself, oh, how does this bless me? How does this bless them? How are we helping each other? I think it helps us step into that gratitude.
With this being the week of gratitude, can you share kind of an example where this happened maybe more recently for you, where you were able to follow through those steps and ultimately end in that place of settling in, of more confidence and contentment, even because of the way you walked yourself through it?
Yeah, I, in the past couple of years, have stepped into public speaking and taking this message to other people. And I've joined a organization where there are people who have been doing this for 25 years and
Wow.
are incredibly talented. And I'm a newbie in the speaking world, relatively compared. And as I show up at these conferences, like I walk in immediately, like, oh my gosh, they make $25,000 for one speaking gig. They just know every single thing about this, and I don't, and I feel really insecure. And I think almost every single time I go to one of these meetings, I have to walk myself through these steps. And as I remind myself, hey, they were a beginner once too. It's okay that I'm a beginner. And when I remind myself, hey,
Hmm.
they have so much I can learn and grow and be inspired from, I'm grateful that I don't have to figure this all out on my own, that I have people I can look up to. And as I walk in and remind myself, I have done this, I've done it lots of times, and I've been able to connect with people and I have something to give, then it just helps me step into that confidence. And I I walk into those meetings feeling insecure and having to push back that comparison because I'm not at the level of so many people there. And I walk out feeling grateful that I went and
Hmm.
feeling uplifted and inspired to keep learning and growing in this new sphere that I've entered in.
What I'm so inspired about that is that you don't let the comparison disqualify you
Yeah,
because you expect it, because you've made space for your humanity and other people too. When you meet comparison, you don't let it outright disqualify you from raising your hand. And even all those, you shared some more statements there that I think were so helpful. Like they were a beginner too. I have gifts to give. Uh, Good for them. Kind of was another sentiment I could like. Good for them. Like, and I am so lucky I get to benefit from that. That to me is the thing I want to take away, to try to step into that place of saying these things to myself when the comparison pops up, so that I don't let it disqualify me from raising my hand anyway.
absolutely. I think it's a lot like we recognize this with fear. Like I was a little kid and I was really afraid of the high dive, and but I didn't want to be embarrassed when all the other kids in my swim class jumped off the high dive. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna suck it up and jump. And was terrified, but I did it, and then I could do it again and again. And I think comparison is the same way. Like it's going to pop up. We're gonna feel that lack of confidence or that insecurity. But if you just push through and you're like, hey, I'm ready to show up and give myself grace and recognize the good that's in me and in other people, I don't have to choose to stay in this comparative mind frame because it may pop in naturally, but it's our choice whether we keep it or move past it, just like it is with fear.
It sounds like a skill set, you know? Like
Hmm.
the more that you do it, the more you'll learn how to work through it better. So for those who are feeling just a little bit like this is new for them,
Yeah,
like they've just been doing comparison for so deep for so long, they've held back them from themselves, maybe they've been jealous of others, and they're wanting it to be different. Is there any piece of wisdom you can say or encouragement for them who are kind of more at the beginning phase of learning how to do this differently?
well, one, again, it's natural. Every single person does it. In fact, there's a study that showed that 12% of our thoughts are comparative. And so just give
Wow.
yourself the grace that, yeah, you're going to do it. And if you just accept that, and then also just start to believe like, just because it happens doesn't mean I have to choose to stay there. I think the more you practice these store steps, I've been doing this for 20 years and I still, like I said, I walk into that room and I feel it and I do it,
Yeah.
But the more that you really try to shift your mindset, really make it a focus on embracing that gratitude and, appreciation for others and yourself and inspiration that you can grow, it becomes easier and you recognize it quicker. Yeah, it's just like any other skill that you learn. You learn the piano one note at a time, and you're going to learn to overcome comparison one little step at a time. So give yourself grace, because it just takes time. And the more you practice and the more you recognize and the more you choose this gratitude mindset, the easier and the more natural it becomes.
You're helping me see something that I've also identified in myself. Like we talked about how we don't raise our hand, or I think we can withdraw or cut off too. So I just don't follow certain people because I'm worried about comparing myself to them. And maybe that has a place for certain times of if you're really in a place of deep insecurity and you just need to have your blinders on and have that tunnel focus on what you can provide. But I'm thinking the antidote that we talked about of gratitude is going to help me better appreciate how someone may do the same thing as me and have more success or do it in a different way, or I would say exterior success, but say like good for them, or how can I learn from them? How can they inspire me instead of just cutting people off and having those blinders on? So that's one thing I'm going to take away from this. I do have a final question for you, Kathie, but before we do that, where should people go if they want to learn more from you?
So I have my website that's kind of the hub of all my things, and that's Kathie Gwilliam. And I spell my name weird because it's a weird name, but it's Kathiegwilliam.com. And that you can find my podcast on any podcast platform. It's Project Confidence. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, and anyway, but that website's really the hub of my books and everything.
We will make sure we link to that. Our final question is, what is one small way listeners can take action on what they learned today?
I think you can sit down today and write down 3 things that you are good at, 3 things that are your strengths that allow you to contribute in a positive way to this world, because we all have them. And then also take that and write 3 things that maybe you don't have of other people and their strengths and their abilities that you're grateful for. And, maybe even do it for a week, every single night. And as you make it a focus of recognizing the good in you and others, it'll be that perfect antidote to help you move past the comparative mind frame.
Beautiful. Yeah, we have gifts to give. We do. We all have gifts to give. Kathie, you helped me recenter in a way that I didn't even know I needed today. And I know you've done that for my community as well. Thank you very much for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You did such a great job. I'm going to see the miracles of editing where I get all of my own. I hope this episode gave you the hug and kick in the pants you need to grow. I'll now share the progress pointers. These are the notes I took so you don't have to. And those on my newsletter get them in a graphic form each week. You can sign up at aboutprogress.com/newsletter. And what you get in the graphic form will be an expanded version of what you hear today. Number 1, notice comparison the moment it shows up. That's the S from Kathie's SOAR method, state the comparison. 2, O, observe how comparison changes your behavior and mood. 3, A, acknowledge that the comparison isn't fair. 4, R, replace the comparison with gratitude-anchored thoughts, those anchored in appreciation, inspiration, and recognition. And number 5, claim and use your own strengths. Again, the expanded version of this will be in the newsletter that comes out. And if you sign up for the newsletter after we send that out, just let us know and we'll still email you back with the graphic. As I shared before, it's our 9-year anniversary of About Progress. Now through the end of the year, I'm giving away 9 of my favorite things, and I'd love for you to be in the running for that. It's so easy. It's the simplest giveaway. All you have to do to qualify is leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. All the giveaway details, including the 9 items I'm giving away and the rolling list of winners, is on my website, and it's linked for you in the show notes, and you can find it at aboutprogress.com/9-year giveaway. This podcast is listener supported. Members of the Supporters Club make my work free and available to all. And in exchange, I get access to 3 levels of exclusive benefits from more time to more content with me. I'm about to do my best of, where I kind of wrap up different best moments of the year and actually some worst ones. I will do my book report as well, where I review all of the books that I read this year. And that's one of my personally favorite episodes. You can get access to more personal. It's one of the benefits of being a bestie or ride or die member of the Supporters Club by going to aboutprogress.com/support. And we really need more supporters in that club. So please consider signing up. You can always support the show for free. And the biggest way we're pushing that right now is to leave that rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. Now go and do something with what you learned today. Today, I want to extend that conversation and how gratitude can act as both the antidote, on how gratitude can act as both the antidote and, gosh dang it.